Hey, all right. Good afternoon. It is about 12:15 on November 10th. I'm excited. Today's guest has overcome some ridiculous challenges in his life, including losing his job after 9/11, losing everything, and as he puts it, means everything. And this year, his first year as a full-time agent in the real estate industry, is probably had his best year in the business. We're excited to talk to him. It's time to own the phone. Alrighty, welcome everybody. Good to have you here for today's edition of On the Phone. Let me tell you a little bit about our guest today. So Don has a long history in the restaurant industry. He actually started working at the age of 7, making pizza dough for his grandparents, learning from his grandmother, working with his father's restaurant. And by the age of 14, he was basically helping run his dad's restaurant. His parents got divorced when he was looks like he was pretty young, one of 8 children. His family went from having a really great luxurious lifestyle to his mother trying to make ends meet for all of the kids there. Huge change for him. In 78, he started working for Russ Salvatore, which was the biggest restaurant in Buffalo. And then in 1984, he got probably at the time, which is his dream job, working for UPS. And, he basically worked for them for a while. And then in 1997, he made some changes in his life and kind of a bit of uncertainty. And then back in 9/11, he had opened his own restaurant because he had lost his job on 9/11. He was stuck in Vegas. And actually, he had the restaurant for 10 to 12 years. And then he said, as he said earlier, he lost everything, and he means everything. So basically, included in that was being completely homeless. If I'm correct, he can share that with me. He got his job back in Buffalo as a UPS director of operations. And then unfortunately, things weren't going well there. He got his real estate license. He was a bartender and worked real estate for quite a few years since 2013. He made the decision this year to go full-time in real estate, and he actually reached icon status with eXp Realty, which is a very, very prestigious award. Not a lot of agents within the system get that, so he's having his best year in real estate. And I was inspired by Don's story, so I wanted him to share with us today. Don Zappia, how are you?
Very good, Wally. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, good to have you here today. So yeah, you've we were talking, and obviously I've known you for a little over a year now. We worked together for a year, and I had known some of your story, but you kind of shared some other things for me that really helped you build some super resilience for yourself. And so I wanted people to hear your story because it's definitely a story of overcoming significant challenges and putting yourself in position to be successful. So so you grew up in upstate New York, right? In central New York?
Yeah, Buffalo, New York. Been here pretty much all my life.
Mm-hmm. So. Okay. And so your father owned a restaurant in Buffalo? Where was it, like Orchard Park? Or
yeah, it was in South Buffalo. Okay. It was basically all the steel mills around Buffalo. It was in the center of all that. So the business was thriving back in early 60s. 70s. I mean, it was just a crazy business. I just mentioned it before. We had a restaurant that sold 1,000 pizzas on a night. And the place back in the 70s was doing $1.2 million in sales. And again, what's crazy about that, when you think about that, there was no credit card machines. It was all cash. So
really,
so it's a crazy time back in those days. So.
I bet you the IRS loved that, huh?
Oh, yeah. I think the best thing that ever happened was credit cards came out for the IRS.
Yeah, so. Literally, right? Yeah. So so it's interesting. We had talked about this a little bit, and you said you had lived a pretty cool lifestyle. Your father was doing well, and your family did well. You were one of 8 kids. And then, your parents got divorced, and it kind of rocked your world, and it changed everything. Can you tell us a little bit about that? Because
so I mean, our life growing up, I mean, we had the snowmobiles, we had built-in pool, we had mini bikes, motorcycles. My dad drove a Cadillac back in the day. My mom had the Woody station wagon because there was 8 kids of us, load us up in the Woody. And so we lived a great life. I mean, growing up, and then all of a sudden, I think the restaurant industry, it's a great industry, but it's a horrible family industry, And things happened within the restaurant. My mom and dad ended up getting divorced. And I can remember, God, I want to say I was 8, 9 years old. And the day my dad moved out of the house, we were all like sort of shocked. And my dad asked me to take the suitcase and bring it to the car. And here I am moving my father out of our house, So that it was pretty devastating. About 8, 9 years old.
That's kind of crazy, huh? Yeah.
And you got to remember back in those days, I mean, sort of dating myself, but when families got broken up, you as a fitting into society, you didn't fit into society. You came from a broken home, so other parents and stuff like that wouldn't let you hang around with their kids. So I lost a lot of friends because of it. His parents got divorced. You better not hang around with him. He's a bad seed.
Right.
So we fought that too growing up, and it was sort of shocking, especially eight kids. So
yeah. And so I'm sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead. And I stood during all that. I stood working for my dad at the restaurant every weekend. After football practice, after a football game, went back to the restaurant.
Right,
so.
Right. And so you had mentioned that it was tough for your mom because you guys all live with your mom for most of the time, right?
Yeah. So I lived with my mom for a while, and it got really difficult because divorce really got pretty ugly. There was, my mom was going after him for everything because she was stuck with 8 kids. And he wasn't willing to give up anything. So there caused a lot of turmoil between my brothers and sisters, because my brother and I have an older brother. We stood working at the restaurant. So we were sort of part of the black sheep in the family. So when we came home, everyone was mad at us because we were still working at the restaurant. And so was my mom. So my mom actually says, well, if you don't want to leave your father as we did, then you need to leave this house. So my mother pretty much told me to go live with my father. My father says, nope, you can't live here because I'm with my new girlfriend, and we got to find you a place to live. So I ended up living with my grandmother. At that time, she was, I think my grandmother was 75 years old back then.
Wow.
My grandfather passed away. She was all by herself, and here she's taken in. And I was 16 at that time. So.
Wow.
So I was tossed around there in the divorce from 9 years. The divorce lasted, it's got to be the longest divorce I could ever know. It lasted almost 3.5, 4 years before it finally got divorced. So
basically you faced a tremendous amount of uncertainty at a young age, right?
Yeah.
And so basically you've been kind of fighting since you were 8 years old to kind of survive, if you will, right?
Yeah. And so basically I couldn't live with my grandma. My grandmother said, I love you, but I can't take you anymore. I mean, I was coming home real late at 16 years old. I was, not coming home at all sometimes. I was just a wanderer. I was all by myself. So I ended up getting my own apartment at 16, 17.
Wow.
It was pretty much in the ghetto. And the only reason why I moved out of that apartment is I had the flu one year, and my sister came over to check on me. And as I was laying on the couch, she walked in. I was laying on the couch, half awake, half asleep. And she goes, "You're getting out of this apartment now." And I go, "Why?" She goes, "There's a rat sitting on the back of your couch." So,
okay, time to go. Time to go.
Yep, she goes, "Get out of this house now." So she actually ended up moving in with my sister for quite a few years.
Okay.
So
then, so basically you're, because I know you have an insane work ethic. And so part of that comes from the fact that you really had to survive since you were a young kid, right? So
yeah.
So you kind of broke out on your own early, and then when did you start? So you were in the restaurant industry with your family, and then when did you leave the restaurant industry? And
so, oh God, I'm trying to think. So I was about 18. I don't think I was 18. 17 years old is when my dad and I separated. He had his wife working, his new wife now, working in the restaurant. And you got to understand, so as you mentioned earlier, I was in that restaurant since I was 7 years old. I grew up in that restaurant. I was making schedules, ordering food. I was the main cook behind the main line. I was never in the pizza kitchen. I was in the regular kitchen. And so I was pretty much the king of the hill. And she came in and tried to become like she was the boss because she's married to my father. And I says, as a young kid, being a smart ass that I was, I pretty much said, "Hey, sweetheart," he goes, "let me tell you something. You're my father's wife, but this is my restaurant. If you don't like it, you can go back home where you belong," like that. And she went to my father.
I bet that one.
Then they go. So I was shown the door again at 17. I was gone. And actually, I started at 17, 18. It was right there, right in that time frame. I ended up bartending out on the lake. Lake Erie's got some great waterfront properties with some great party bars. So I ended up bartending there for that whole entire year, which was a blur. I hardly remember bartending at that time. And after that, that's actually when I left that. I ended up working for Russ Salvatore.
Okay.
And that's how I ended up over in that scenario, which has been good with me on and off, back and forth. Been working for him. Oh God, worked for him probably a total 20, 25 years of my life here and there, part time, full time. So
yeah, and you were making like when we met, you had made like you were making like what 70, 80 grand a year bartending or something like that.
Yeah, 80, 85. Yeah, bartending, and that was 4 days a week, maybe 35 hours. You know, it's just a good place. You know, he runs a good operation.
People could eat at the bar too, right? So they can get food, they can get drinks.
Yeah, it's a steakhouse. It's the number one steakhouse in Buffalo. So it seats about one seating about 200 people in the dining room. So good sized restaurant.
Couple turnovers, you're doing okay. So eventually you get into corporate America, right?
Yeah. So I had my own restaurants. I worked for UPS, left the UPS, ended up becoming a transportation consultant. I was DOT certified. And at that time, there's a lot of certifications or a lot of demands from the DOT with trucking industries. So I decided to become that DOT consultant. The only problem is timing is everything in the world, right? And when I came in to start doing that, the U.S. government deregulated the transportation industry. So basically, a lot of the mom and pops, which was my sweet spot, ended up closing up and going bankrupt because the big guys ended up taking everything all over. And all the little mom and pop transportation companies, regional transportation companies left. So I ended up, but I scored pretty good. I ended up becoming a transportation consultant for U.S. Foods, you know, and I stuck with U.S. Foods. And during that time, that's when I bought my own restaurant. You know, because of my background, born and raised, I thought, hey, that's life. That's where you should go, right?
It's in your blood, right? So you worked, looks like you worked about 17 years in transportation, it looks like.
Yeah, 17, 18 years. Yeah. I was the youngest operations manager in UPS with the largest amount of people reporting to me. I had 400 people reporting to me, or I was responsible for 400 people.
And you said, if I recall, your boss at UPS was a tool, right? Not a good guy. And you guys didn't get along well. And
not well, you know, in UPS, you change bosses every 6 months in there because everyone's getting promoted, moved around, at least back in those days. Changed a lot now, but back in those days, you had a new boss every 6 months. But the last one I had, it wasn't the greatest in the world, you know.
Right. So if I recall, he basically kind of had it in for you, and then he was doing some inappropriate stuff at work, and you were kind of stuck with, a rock and a hard place, and push came to shove, and you got the push, right? Basically,
yeah, I got the push. Basically, you know, back I was in '97. You know, I was making six figures a year, and basically 2 weeks before Christmas, they said, well, you're gonna take a buyout. See you later. And there I was, from making $650 a year or six figures a year, making zero going out the front door. You know, and your lifestyle. I mean, you don't plan for that. I mean,
And so '97, you're in your 40s now, right? So I mean, yeah, and so it's not like, it's not like being 70 or something like that, but it's, making a change at that point when you're forced to, right? So you have your restaurant, you do that for 10 to 12 years, and then again, right? So another,
yeah.
Like,
I mean, that's where the bucket fell in. I mean, I can remember my son. So I have two sons, and my oldest son, Chad, basically, I says, hey, I need a ride. Can you pick me up from the Cadillac dealership? And he goes, yeah. He goes, what's wrong with the car? I says, I don't own it anymore. I said, I got to turn it in, So I pulled in the parking lot and put the keys on the front seat of the car. I was so embarrassed I couldn't even go in, but I left the keys in front seat. I called my salesman. I said, hey, it's Donnie Zappia. How you doing? I go, hey, look, I haven't made the payment in about 5-6 months. They've been calling me. Rather than the tow truck come to my house, I figured I'd drop it off in your parking lot. The keys are in the front seat. Boom, done with that. And then I can remember my wife had I bought my wife a 1977 Blazer. Okay. It was rusted. It was falling apart. And at that time, during all that falling down, I mean, I had to make a living. My brother lived in Las Vegas, and he was doing stuff with streaming video. Like this stuff that we're doing right now was unheard of back in 2005, 2006 in that area. And he says, come out with me. He goes, help me with this. He goes, make some money, So I went out there. My wife, we had no income. We lost everything. We had foreclosures. My wife called me one day crying on the phone. I go, what's the matter? She goes, I got U.S. Marshals at the front door. I got sheriffs at the back door. They're telling me I have to leave the house. And because I had back taxes with the IRS knocking at the door, and they sent U.S. Marshals. They sent sheriffs out to give notices and stuff like that. Not only that, we had no money. She started working as a custodian at the school, but to get back and forth to the school, she needed gas in the car, and she used to go and collect pop bottles to get gas to get back and forth to work. So
you guys were, yeah.
So I decided to move to Vegas, and the only problem I had is how was I going to get to Vegas? So I left Vegas. I had $50 in my pocket, and I know that sounds like a cliche story, but I actually had $50 in my pocket.
That's why your brother lent me. That's why you're here to tell that story, because it's an incredible story, cliche or not. It's a great story. Go ahead.
Yeah, my brother paid for the gas in the truck. Also paid for the trailer. When I filed bankruptcy, the only thing the judge let me keep was my Harley Davidson. So that was in the back of my truck. He says, do you have a car? I go, no. We turned it in. It got repoed. He goes, what transportation do you have? I said, the only thing I have is my Harley Davidson. He goes, well, we won't take that from there. You could keep that. So,
which is perfect in Buffalo, right? I mean, a Harley in Buffalo is a perfect transportation.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
5 months out of the year.
He even said it. The judge even said it. He goes, you know what? He goes, I don't know what you're going to do in the winter, but you're going to be cold.
Yeah, so, 5 months out of the year, it's the best transportation on the planet. So you and your wife hop in the Blazer, put your Harley in the Blazer, and you head out to Vegas.
No, I left my wife here. It was my brother and I. So I went to Vegas to help my other brother. So my one brother, David, he basically lent me all the money to get to Vegas. My brother, Michael, lived in Vegas. So I went and stood with my brother, Michael, in Vegas. We drove out there. I stood there for about a year and a half. And then my wife finally made the venture to come to Vegas and live with me, which tore her apart because she left her 2 kids, So then we're in Vegas. We're doing okay. We're paying our bills. And I get a call from a friend to come back to Buffalo to be his marketing manager and operations manager in his business. He had a wholesale furniture club type business. So I went with him. We were knocking it dead. It was a franchise type business. When I first got there, we were ranked dead last. I mean, like out of 175 stores, we were 175th in the rankings. So he said, Donnie, do whatever you got to do, get it going. So I said, fine. He goes, I'm going to make you somewhat of a partner here. I go, look, I don't want nothing to do with financing or anything else. He actually was a CPA. He was my old CPA. And we built the business up. We ended up being in the top 10 of the franchises within a year and a half. We pushed it up, and all of a sudden the guy, New York State Electric and Gas, walks in and goes, "Hey, we're gonna shut the electric off." I'm going, "What are you talking about? We're doing great here." He goes, well, "It's got to be a misunderstanding." So I did have access to all the accounts and all that. I walk in the office, and sure as heck, I look on the computer and there's $30,000 draws, $50,000 draws out of the company to my friend, the owner. And so he comes back into work the next day. I says, "Hey, you got to tell me what's going on. The gas is going to get turned off." I wrote a check to the guy. I don't even know if the check's going to be good, but what are all these $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 draws? He goes, none of your business. Basically, it was a bunch of hookers and cocaine. So, yeah. So basically that business closed up.
Pretty certain you can't write that off. I'm pretty certain that's not a business expense.
I don't think so. You can buy a couple Coca-Colas for your friends and family, but that's about it.
So anyway, you get a huge curveball when you're a kid. You're basically out on your own by 16. And then you still work with your dad's restaurant finally. So then you go get into the business world. You work for a transportation company, and then that business goes south because the government deregulates transportation. So then you start your own business, and you're like, hey, that's good. Then you get an opportunity to work at UPS, and then basically the UPS deal, you get basically say here today, gone tomorrow. Here's your check. We'll see you tomorrow. So then you go and open up your own restaurant at the same time as your consulting business, and then that goes south. And so you've been like, you don't go like this. You go, what I'm saying? So you've had
I crash and burn.
You got lots of downturns, and so now how old are you now when this furniture business goes south and your buddy basically blows it up?
Let's see. I was about 50, 52 in that area, I believe. Yeah.
So you're looking at 4 or 5 ginormous butt whippings already, and you're 55. I'm interested because clearly you can go bartend and make 70, 80 grand a year. I mean, that's, there's people that, there's people with college degrees and all this other stuff that aren't even making that. And here you are with a long-standing relationship, and not that a college degree changes anything, but I'm saying you're in a business where you can make good money, and you just need to be personable and good at what you do, and you can make the cash run. So how can you become a real estate agent? What's in 2000?
So go back when I came back to Vegas or came back to Buffalo with that job with the furniture industry. So there was me, the owner, and then another gentleman who actually built homes. He was in construction, was part of that business also. So we were talking, we were going to buy a chunk of land and start building. Okay. So I'll give you the year and then you can figure out the rest. Basically 2008, 2009.
Oh, wow. Not the year to be buying land and building, that's for sure. No, not the years to be buying land and building, no, sir.
But in that, I said, you know what, I'm just going to get my real estate license. So I went and got it. And one of the customers, so we offered a service that if you were part of the club, you got a discounted service. Like we would offer you something. I did that for listings, which I never got a listing from it, but I picked up a buyer, my first buyer. It was a home down on the west side of Buffalo. It was a $34,000 home, a young couple. In fact, I'm still in touch with her today, Lorraine. Her name's Lorraine. And we still talk. She's a great girl. Still owns the same house. But we ended up, I got it, wrote up the contract, did everything. And my first commission check was $900. And I went, that was sort of easy. Like that, looked at my wife. I just made $900 doing real estate. I said, this is crazy. I go, that's how this thing works. False hopes. And then I says, easy. Like this, right? And I mean, and Wally, I said, this ain't easy anymore. I go, and it's so funny because as I was doing real estate through the years, is that I always heard real estate agents, oh, I'm so busy, I can't take it. I don't know what I'm going to do. And I'm like, so easy. What are you talking about? And it wasn't until February 2nd when I decided to go full time, I realized what they were talking about once you start getting busy. And I always remember Wally telling me, he said, you know what? You're going to have problems. The more deals you have, the more problems you're going to have. So, and believe me, that is an understatement.
If deals aren't falling apart or giving you trouble, you're not doing enough transactions. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. It's not, so anyway, last year we started working together towards the end of the summer, the fall. You're like, hey, I want to get out of bartending. I want to start real estate full time. And I was pushing you. And finally, there was an issue with one of the other employees of the company. And you're like, that's it. Throw your hands up and I'm out the door. And so
I was looking for a reason.
Yeah, somebody gave you a little the shove, so to speak. So anyway, you've been doing real estate basically part time since 2013. In 2020, during towards the end of the worst part of the pandemic in upstate New York State, which is probably one of the most conservative states. You finished last year with about $6 million volume, right? Just around there, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Right, and so now we're here, 2021. Short in inventory, your first full-time year, you don't have a monstrous presence in Buffalo, right? And you're going to end this year right around 11 million, right? In that range.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah. I'm pushing to get that last couple $100,000 in there. So, yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So you basically doubled your business in your first full-time first year as a real estate agent. And you reached icon status with EXP, which is a big deal. You know what I'm saying? So
I didn't even realize I did it. One of my friends told me I did.
Yeah. So that's good because you're not focused on getting rewarded. You're focused on selling houses. But here's the thing, you took a huge leap of faith. You know what I'm saying? You've got, more money in the bank than you've had in a long time. You've got a successful business. You've got an inside sales agent, you've got an administrative assistant. So just kind of tell us, what, I'm assuming all of the lessons you've learned over the last, 50 plus years, you've really applied to putting your head down and doing what you need to do. And it's probably a lot of it, you can look back and say, God, it sucked, but it really helped prepare you for what has really been, the best year in real estate you've ever had,
Yeah. Well, those 13 years prior, let's go back to first 11 years, 12 years of real estate. I've always looked at my broker through the years, and I've had probably about 4 brokers. I really didn't change companies a lot, but I did have 4 brokers, and I kept saying, there's got to be more to this business. There's got to be more to it. What is more to it? And I kept looking for, and I laugh because, while you say it, Jay Kinder, everybody, says it, that, you buy the next shiny thing that says that you're going to get all these leads. And I was buying things. My wife thought I was absolutely nuts. I'm spending $3,000-$4,000 on this program, $3,000 on that program. And there's a friend of mine, Kenny Canter. He owns a Canter real estate down in Vegas. And his business, he had a rough time in his life. And all of a sudden now Kenny's driving around in Corvettes and all that. And so I said, I got to give Kenny a call, find out what's going on. He says, he goes, Donnie, get yourself a coach, And he goes, and that's where I ended up actually I joined EXP, and then actually I found Honey Badgers on there, and that's how I ended up getting in touch with Wally and all that. But so that question that I had, it was part of my drive, that I knew there had to be more to the puzzle than what I was doing. I got myself to 2 million, 3 million, but I could never get off that dime. It was always at 2 million, 3 million every year, but I just couldn't get it. And it was so inconsistent. 1 month I'd be busier than heck, and then 3 months, nothing. 1 month busier than heck, 3 months, nothing. So nothing was consistent. Spending money foolishly on shiny objects, and then finally direction. Finally somebody gave me direction, which Wally's been great with that. And that's the turning point.
But you're doing the work, though. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I'm grateful.
Right.
I mean, you're my friend more than anything right now. We're friends. We joke around. We tease each other in Italian and all that stuff. But, like, you do the work. You know what I'm saying? All I can do is tell you to do, but you got to do the work. You got to work through the challenges.
Oh, yeah. I mean, there's days I'll be honest with you. I mean, there's days I wake up and I say, you know what? I don't want to answer the phone. I don't want to do nothing. I'm fried. Yeah. But, you sort of take a couple deep breaths, a good cup of coffee, walk around the block, and you're right back at it. It's the 300 calls a night. It's shaking hands and kissing babies, and every opportunity I have when I introduce myself, hey, I'm Don Zappia. How you doing? Here's my business. By the way, I'm a real estate agent. If you know anybody looking to buy or sell a home, please let me know. Here's my card. And Ross Salvatore, the guy I used to work for with the big restaurant, he said something to me a long, long time ago too. He says, you know what? Every time I walk into a building, a store, whatever, and I tell people who I am and what I own, he goes, because I'm in business for myself. And basically, I'm in business by myself. And definitely you got to let people know who you are, because if you don't, you miss that opportunity. So
right. And I'm going to toot your horn here a little bit. So, you left being bartender. I mean, you basically give up $7,500 a month. You know what I'm saying? And hopped into real estate, and your business was moving, but it wasn't moving the way you wanted to. But you've worked extremely hard. You put in a lot of effort. I want to let you talk about your home bids program, because I think that's an amazing program. But, you're at a point now where, as you turn the corner next year, you're going to be in a position that a lot of real estate agents they want themselves, is to be able to build a business that you can start stepping out of. You know what I'm saying? I mean, if everything goes the way it's supposed to, within the next year, you're not going to be doing as much to run your business. And then soon enough, you're going to be able to work on your recruiting strategy and be where you need to be. So you've really put in the energy and the effort. And, there are so many times you could have easily just given up. I mean, nobody would have said, hey, Don, you gave up. If you would just bartended for the rest of your life and made 75, 85 grand, you'd be working hard. You know what I'm saying? You're making good money, taking care of your family. But obviously you wanted more, and you've been a fighter your entire life. And I think that served you extremely well. So, I mean, I love you, and I'm super proud of you for that. So great job. So you decided a few months ago to take advantage of a program that's really starting to change how you do business in your marketplace. Can you talk a little bit about it?
Yeah. So there's the real estate business is always changing, and what I see, in our area here is that everybody's looking for that reduced commission. I mean, for sale by owners, the amount that go initially that direction, I believe, has increased tremendously in this area. And again, it's the same amount that come back to a real estate agent once they don't sell anyway, but they're always looking for a discounted commission base. So I got hooked up with a company called Home Bids, and basically it's a full service MLS listing. It's treated just like a regular listing, but the home goes out on bid. And the cool thing about it, the seller only pays a 3 or 3.5% commission, and that's totally up to you. Whatever you want to charge them, you charge them. And basically, so you put your house up for sale with this Home Bids. The hardest thing that I find with the system is convincing the homeowner that not even convincing, is them getting to the fact, because it's a bid system, it's eBay for homes, basically. To relate that term with it, is that you have to reduce the price of your home by 20 to 30% is what's recommended.
Up
so
front.
we have
Up front.
Yeah,
just to get it started, so you can build that auction atmosphere. Yeah.
Right. So I've done 6 deals with Home Bids already this year. I want to say it's about $1.8 million in sales. Okay. Out of those 6, 3 of them I got both sides on. Okay. So
6, that's 9 sides. Nice.
Yeah. So it works really good, but so convincing or getting the homeowner to get used to the fact that they got a $300,000 home, and we're actually going to put it up for $240,000. They have to understand that, but they don't have to take an offer.
Right.
They could refuse, accept, or counter any offer. Okay. So far we haven't had. We did one. We refused an offer and countered, and we got what we wanted. And every deal, I mean, we put one up for, the owner wanted $130,000 for their home, and we put it at $95,000. We got $175,000 for the home.
Ain't it appraised?
And it was cash deal.
Okay, so even better.
Yeah. So, and then we had a really big, so that was sort of a small need or fixer upper type of home. And then we had another house that was a 3,000 square foot home, but it was very, very dated, needed a lot of work inside. House complete, meaning complete by, brought back up to date. It's probably worth $600,000. So when I said with the owner, he goes, Donnie, I'd be happy if I got 350, 375. I'd be happier than that. So we put the house up for $240,000. So what we did is we do 4 to 5 open houses. We do Saturday, Sunday, one during the week, Saturday, Sunday, then bids due. The final bid is due on Tuesday. So we did that with that house. We had over 200 people come through the open houses. And I probably picked up out of those 200 people, I have a list of probably 6 or 7 good buyers that I'm working with right now. So that's the other part of this. You're picking up a good buyer clientele. But anyway, the end result of that home, we had 99 bids on that home, and it sold for $457,000.
Wow. Yeah,
cash deal. Cash deal. Yeah. So it's good for the homeowner. They only paid the 3.5%, and the buyer added that to the purchase price, their 3%, and 0.5% goes to Home Bids. So great program, great. And what I look at it is that when I sit down with somebody that I'm going to go list a home, and I go through my listing presentation with them and all, and they start bickering about commissions, and I don't want to do this, especially the for sale by owner listing appointments. It's an option. It's an option. It's another tool in my toolbox that I could put back on the table. Here's a tool, and you're done because you're willing to pay me the 3% anyway, right? That's why we're sitting here, because he said he would work with a real estate agent. Right. But now I got another tool for him, and the people that I presented it to love it.
So you're going to turn the corner in the next year on fire. So I'm super excited for you. Amazing story. So many times you could have just, folded up your tent and just gone home and just, given up, but you didn't. And so I think you're an amazing, inspiring example. You're in your 60s and you're really just getting started with building an amazing real estate career for yourself. So really, it's never too late. Obviously you talked about advice you got from other people. What advice would you give to people who are, in the real estate industry today? If somebody's watching this and, maybe at a point where they just got their teeth kicked into, what advice would you give to folks?
There's dollars and cents with everything. And my recommendation is, we spend a lot of time trying to figure stuff out. And sometimes you just grab a mentor. I don't know if you could afford to get a coach at that point in time in your life, depending on where you are, but get somebody to mentor you that really is going to teach you the ropes, but not do it for you, because if you're going to have somebody do the work for you, you're going to lose because they're not going to do it. They're going to do it for themselves first.
Right.
So, I would definitely do that. Read books, listen to books. You take nuggets out of each little chapter you listen to, and don't give up. It's a crazy industry. I sort of laugh sometimes and say, you do $10 million in sales and you're collecting a 3% commission. We set up what talk about that mentor, Wally giving me ideas and, try this out, do this. I got myself an accountant. I S-corp myself. I have a SEP account that is growing. My financial advisor just called me. Actually, I was on the phone prior to this. He goes, "Don, you're doing great." He goes, "This is awesome." The EXP world with the stock and all the other stuff. So it just so many avenues to create income so you don't have to do this the rest of your life.
Yep. Amazing. Yeah, you're doing great, man. Again, I'm honored to call you my friend and so proud of you. Doing an amazing job. I'm looking forward to planning next year and watching next year happen for you.
Yeah. Well, we're finally going to shake hands together, Wally. We're going to see you in December too.
We get to meet you finally. Cool. Any final words, sir?
No, just I tell you, I keep pushing forward. I set my goals high. I had a $14 million goal this year, and I'm probably going to set my goal high again. Come July of this year, I remember talking to Wally, going, "I don't think I'm going to hit it. Well, I think I shot my goal too high, this and that." And he goes, "Well, you know what? If you did 7 million, 8 million, is that a bad thing?" No, it's not. But it's not where I want to be. But you know what? All of a sudden, boom, boom, boom. Because I kept focusing on the goal and what I had to do to get there. And 11 million is not bad to shake a stick at, my first year in full-time real estate. So,
man, I appreciate you so much. Thanks for making some time for me today. All right, folks, hope you enjoyed the story today. You are truly an inspiration, Don Zappia, and I'm looking forward to seeing you in about a month. Anyway, folks, that's Don Zappia. I'm Wally Bressler. This has been On the Phone. Hey there, this is Wally Bressler, and on behalf of my guest today, I'd like to thank you for joining us for this episode of On the Phone. If you'd like more information on how to overcome sales call reluctance, procrastination, and self-sabotage, and become an expert on the phone, go to www.phonesalessecrets.com. And if you'd like my free course on how to overcome sales call reluctance, please go to www